the Chinese government themselves is a bit of a hater and a Wu-Mao.
It is, really.
Pretty much
Well, I mean,
is.
all of their wolf warrior diplomats, like Mao Ning over here. By the way, her name literally is almost spelled moaning. Like she's moaning all the time.
Moaning, yeah. It's pretty funny. But this is the foreign ministry spokesperson, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, so to speak.
Okay.
And
Mofa. Does that sound derogatory?
It kind of does.
Mofa?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like a...
Yeah, pretty much. Now, the mofa over here, on a daily
you in the
basis...
wrong part of town, mofa.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. They keep putting out these absolutely preposterous
It's preposterous.
tweets, okay? And these statements,
nice.
these like awful statements that just boil my blood because they're always so untrue.
It's always the opposite of reality.
It is every time.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So this is what she put out the other day. She said, with less than 9% of the world's arable land, China grows 1/4 of the world's food and feeds 1.4 billion people. This in itself is a major contribution to global food security.
You know who would agree with that? It's probably that Nordic knobhead.
Oh, yes.
Carl
that
Schumann,
Eric
or whatever the hell his
Swalwell.
name
What is
was.
his name?
Eric Swollenheim.
Whatever the hell.
Eric Solheim. That's
Is
right.
that it? Solheim?
It's Eric?
Yeah, I think it's Eric. The Belt and Road Initiative dude, or
Belt and
whatever.
Road Initiative.
The Green Belt and Road or something.
Because he's part of the Green Party. How ironic is that? He's like chiding this government that he's destroying the world and adding coal plants.
Oh, yeah.
It shows you how selfish and regarded people are.
Yeah, no, he's definitely being used as a tool by the Chinese government. But I just had to point out to her that China imports a lot of food and is only 65% self-sufficient.
Yeah, so America, for example, if everything went tits up and we lost all imports and stuff, America only imports food to save money. Right? They only do that because it's cheaper, but it's completely self-sufficient. We in the U.S. are in a very lucky position. In global catastrophe, we can feed ourselves.
Yeah, what is it? 200% food security?
Something like that, depending on the crop, right?
Yeah.
But we have so much food, it's not even funny, right?
It's ridiculous.
But China doesn't. China would starve. China would go through starvation. Weirdly enough, actually, from that Jordan podcast I was listening to, the guest was talking about this. They heavily rely on Russia for a lot of food.
And Ukraine.
Without Russia, specifically access to Russia, I'm just talking about because it's an ally now. But without access to that, let's say they get into a land dispute with Eastern Manchuria, the outer Manchuria or whatever.
Sure.
And Russia's like, no, we're not going to be friends anymore. That China would very quickly deal with starvation. Yeah. And China's in a very fragile position right now. They they're not self-sufficient with food at all. Right. And actually, self-sufficiency has gone down in China. Yeah. And part of their Belt and Road Initiative is to go out there and try to secure countries and basically trick and dupe countries to be beholden to them. Yeah. So that
like
they
Africa.
can so they can have their breadbaskets. Yeah. Right. They want to take over breadbasket regions of countries like Brazil and African nations. Yeah.
So they can get food from there. So it's just... I have to point this out because when people scroll through Twitter, or if you're just a casual viewer, of course, people who watch our show are a little bit more intelligent, I would hope. But the average person might be tricked into reading that headline from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs because it's the official outlet from China stating that, we only have 9% of the world's arable land, but we feed everybody and we grow 1/4 of the world's this, and we're so amazing.
And you can't even feed yourself.
And we're contributing to the world's food security.
You're not doing shit. You are meaningless.
Yeah, exactly.
You are on the global food production. You are meaningless.
Yeah, then why are you importing so much food?
Yes.
Energy.
The thing is, they do like one of the world's biggest producers of corn, all this kind of stuff, right? But they don't. The world doesn't need that. That's an accessory. That's on top, so people can have cheap stuff. Yeah. No one needs it.
Yeah. So it's blatant twisting of the truth and lying by omission, and not pointing out the reality of the situation just to make China look great and amazing. Yeah. It's nonsense. Yeah.
I always loved. This is my new favorite hobby, by the way.
Okay.
My new hobby is to use Chinese official documents against them.
Okay.
Because it's one thing if you get some study from some U.S. think tank or whatever, which are usually trustworthy, right? Mm-hmm. Or I can do some Harvard study, or I can do Pew Research polls and stuff. Those are all great, and those are all very credible. But what's more credible than using their own statistics against them?
Yeah, exactly. So what do you got? This is the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs.
You can go through the government stuff that is It has been at times like had a modicum of truth telling
Yes.
because they didn't think it's not because they're better back then. It's just because they're not thinking this is going to backfire someday.
Yeah,
they're just writing.
They
like,
weren't thinking ahead as usual.
So you can get stats out of these documents. Like, for example, something that China refuses to admit is that 80% of its soybean. By the way, soybeans massively important in China.
Yeah,
one of their
about
biggest crops.
Tofu.
Yeah. One of their biggest crops. They
Yeah.
need soybeans like for everything they do.
Yeah.
It's a huge part of the way they stave off starvation.
Yeah.
80% of their soybeans are a necessity import. Necessity import, not out of convenience, right?
Yeah.
They need to import 80%.
So it's not like in America because you want some nice flavors, you're importing
No.
Dijon mustard or something.
No.
You know.
Correct. Correct.
So, you know.
Right. Yeah, who knows where that comes from?
Yeah, from Dijon, you know.
From Dijon. What is it? France, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway,
That's right.
back on track
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
China doesn't want you to know this, but they've published it in their own rural
exactly.
affairs, like, their farming journals, basically, from the government, because they don't realize that this is going to be used against them someday.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of a transition, but I have a video coming up with something they absolutely wish did not get out there. Let me just say this, because will be my new trend. Using official Chinese government documents against their own narrative.
Yeah.
Because you can't argue against that anymore. You can't say, oh, that's just Western propaganda.
Yeah,
I
'cause
will
they did it.
I will literally only use Chinese government documents for my next video.
Okay.
And it's a bad one.
Okay.
It's real bad.
Oh, yeah.
I did that with my COVID origin thing.
Oh, you did, yeah.
It was I only used Chinese government documents.
Yeah, but they still call you conspiracy theory.
Yeah. Well,
Theorist or whatever.
unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be fun.
Yeah, you go with that. That's not about that. My video is about the economy.
Right.